it tells about how, when you should be picking them, and like you want them to have good vitamins and good quality, that they aren't overly ripe or that they're not underripe. And then it also tells like when you have small vegetables, you need 12 of them for the fair. And that can be like, that's where your green beans come in, Brussels sprouts. Now, cherry tomatoes, they do not want them to be brought to the fair. That's one thing, you don't bring cherry tomatoes, you have the other kind of tomatoes. Okay, so now, talking about green beans, when we look at them at the fair, we like to have 12. Now, I had to buy these, so they aren't the best like, they are when you would be picking them out of your garden. Now, we like to have them where they're all pretty uniform in size. And like this one is maybe a little bit too big and that. Now, they should have this stem on and the point. So maybe you have to go out into the garden with a scissor or a knife or that to make sure that stem is on. And do you know why that stem should be on? Because if that stem comes off, air is going to be getting into your bean, and then it's going to start losing the good nutrients out of there. And it's going to get soft and that real quick. Okay, so when we go out looking for our beans, now you can start looking for the beans maybe 3-4 days before the fair. Because then there's something that you can do to make them look real nice at the fair. Okay. Now, if you picked out maybe 12, 14 that look pretty good, but if you find some that are a little crooked, let's see if I'll find one here. See, it probably matches, the other ones, they kind of match, but they're kind of crooked, because we like to have them nice and straight. So there's a little trick what you can do to make them lie straight. You take a plate or a cardboard and you tape them down. Like these were real curvy. So I taped them down on here, put the tape on, and you do this the day before, then you put a damp paper towel over them, and then you put them in the plastic bag, and you have that in the refrigerator overnight. Then the next day they're going to become straight, because I did these yesterday, and they were real crooked. So you can see they got straightened out. And because with the stems and with the points, and like here's one that's kind of crooked too, so that's what you do. You would lay it down and then tape it down. And then you put water in there, but then squeeze it out so it's not wet, and then lay it over it and in that bag. Okay, that's a little trick, that you can make them look real nice and straight, because the showmanship part of the vegetables is what counts more than anything. Okay, so you said you grow beans, okay? And then you could also have like peppers. Then when you get to 3 medium size, they want 3 of each vegetable. So that could be like beets, carrots, cucumbers. And if the cucumbers are slicers, they have to be long. Or if they're pickling, they have to be little. And then you can have parsnips, peppers, summer squash, zucchini, sweet corn, and tomatoes. Okay, now if you're talking about peppers, there's different colors, and like to have the same color if they're red or yellow or the green. So they're about the same size, and you leave the stem on. And there again, the stem keeps it so it's nice and fresh and they don't dry out. And then also, if you notice, peppers at the bottom, they have lobes. This one has 3, this one has 4. Now you have to pick them so all 3 of them have 3 lobes or 4 lobes. So they're the same. Because this is in your showmanship. that counts, you know, to have these the same. So if it's kinda coming down to who gets the purple or the blue, the ones, you know, if they're all the same, that counts more. Okay, that's peppers. And then we talked about zucchini. Do you grow zucchini? No? Okay, if you do, they grow like crazy. Okay. Now a lot of times the people let them get too big. This is the size you want for your zucchinis at the fair. This is the perfect size. There should be 3, and then you gotta leave the stem on. And sometimes there's yellow squash or the zucchini. And that would be 3 of these. Okay? And then when you have carrots, you grow carrots? Okay. Now those are probably about the hardest to find because you gotta dig a lot of them to find 3. Now these I just had in a bag. But these then, because you should not scrub them. If you're gonna wash them, just take a damp paper towel and then just kind of wipe them like that. Because if you scrub them, it's gonna scrape the skin and then it's gonna lose the nutrients that start coming out. Okay, now these I wrapped in a damp paper towel, which you should do this like to the beans, the carrots, the beets, and wrap them in this damp paper towel, and they're going to stay nice and crisp, and they're going to be shinier. Like these are getting a little wilty. We're wrapped in this damp paper towel. It kept the moisture in there. Okay, now these 3 are pretty much the same size. Now only these are boughten, so they weren't, you know, I couldn't pick them out. They should have the roots on. Then they should have tops about 1.5 inches of tops. Not longer, but they must have the tops on. And that's why all the vegetables should have their tops on, just to save the nutrients from escaping from the vegetable. The only plant though, there's one that you do not leave the tops on, and that's tomatoes. You know why we have to take the stem off the tomatoes? Because if you have the stem on, and this is even like when you pick them. Okay. Okay, when you pick them, a lot of times you put them in a pail, the stem is going to puncture the skin on the tomato. So you should always take the skin, or that stem off the tomato. That's the only one you take the stem off. Okay, and we're looking for 3 again that are the same. Now tomatoes, if they're not ripe, you could have 3 green tomatoes if your tomatoes aren't red. So tomatoes, you take the stems off. You've got to make sure there's no cracks in them, and they're even in size. And take the stems off of that. Let's see, and then the onions, we like to see that they have this dry skin on them, and they should have a stem about 1 inch long. And you can tell that they're ripe. When this gets dried up, that means the onion is ready for harvesting. And if you pick it too soon, it's going to start rotting in about a month or so because it wasn't ripe. Okay, let's see about some of the other vegetables here. We like to see vegetables that are very nutritious and high in nutritional value. And a lot of times we like to see like one big one that's a cabbage or a pumpkin, and then your small ones, and then your 12 small. And like to have, you know, like you get color. You got red tomatoes, you got green beans, you got yellow onions, orange carrots, red beets, kind of a little bit color in there too. And then this other page shows your onions. They peeled this off, and you don't want that to happen. And then, okay, but then there's other things that you could do in the area that if you don't have enough vegetables, you can do kind of some experiments or some different things, like maybe you could take different kinds of soil which you have. And another thing you could do like if you would buy 4 tomatoes in a square pack, and if you had like 3 pails, these big pails, put 3 different kinds of dirt in there. One dirt like just from the garden, and another one just have a little bit of fertilizer. The other one have like bought-in dirt and fertilizer, and you put those 3 plants in there, and to see how they grow in that different kinds of dirt. So you can think of different experiments or things which you would like to do that are different than just bringing vegetables to it. So there's other things that you can do in the area. And you can talk about some diseases or some of those sheets if you find something that you'd be interested in looking up to do. Now you can start doing this like 2-3 days before the fair. You know, and if you put things like in the plastic bags in the refrigerator, it's gonna stay, and so you don't have to do it all like the morning of the fair. So.